Sound speeds, and welcome to another reaction video. Now, my friend Jake Sloan sent me a message one day out of the blue, and he says, if you want to get a laugh, followed by a link to one of his videos. And I said, cool, I'll check it out. Then he followed it up with, I wouldn't be surprised if this showed up as one of your roast videos. So I thought we would react to it. Pasting the URL into the incognito browser and...
Tell me your name.
Okay, hold on one second. Before we start watching this, I'm going to say a couple of things. First of all, I doubt that he is talking about sound the entire time because his channel is all about drones. So I'm probably going to skip around a little bit and just show the sound-related things. So this could be a short video for all I know. I haven't watched this yet. This video is called My Simple Solo Sony FX6 Setup for Run and Gun Interviews. Okay, it was released on the Jake Sloan YouTube channel with 109,000 subscribers. Congrats on the silver play button. And this video, as of right now, has 127 upvotes, and it has 2.4 thousand views and was released 3 weeks ago, as of the time of this video, on July 19th, 2024. We're going to go into theater mode, making this slightly bigger, and we're going to make sure we are watching this thing in 1080p. Why not? Okay, so here we go.
Tell me your name, where you're from, what it is you do for a living, and...
Wait a minute. Are those are both Jake Sloan? Okay, cool. Oh, wait a minute. He's using the micro boom. Oh, no, well, wait a minute. No, he's not. Well, is he? No, that looks like just a regular boom pole. But he's got the cable hanging down really low to the lids. Okay.
How you got to where we are today? My name's Jake Sloan, and I'm a solo creator based in...
And he is wearing, you know what? If you're not a sound-related person, it's fine. Ride code HC15. So he's using the ride code HC15. I have a review of that if you would like to check it out right there. The HC15 and the HC22. And I'm also going to be very soon reviewing some more of the ride code microphones. And once that video drops, I will put a link to it up there as well. But you're not going to see the icon to the thumbnail because it hasn't been created as of the time of this video. So what he is wearing on his chest is the DJI microphone, the transmitter, and it has a windscreen on there. Now that is a beast mode windscreen. I have heard people like Andre over at Worth It or Not, he has taken rides with it and the wind is blowing, you know, at him going like 20 miles an hour and there's no wind hitting it because that thing is extremely puffy. When you have a big puffy windscreen like that, then you basically have a pocket of air in there that wind is not going to imperviate and going to be able to, you know, cause a lot of wind noise on. So let's continue. I see the boom pole sticking out there in his reflection. You got to be careful about that when you're a boom operator.
Alaska, I do lots of hybrid video photo work. I do lots of corporate work. I do lots of outdoor work. And, you know, the corporate work is great, but really my favorite type of work is probably the outdoor stuff when I'm out with helicopters.
You hear the wind hitting the microphone? It's going a little bit. It must have been very breezy out there. You can see the trees and stuff like that in the background blowing around. So I wonder what he's playing. I wonder if he's using the boom or if he's using the DJI, because the DJI, I don't think it sounds like it. It sounds to me more like a boom, which would also be an indicator of not having enough wind protection on there, because that boom is just inside of a Zeppelin. And I think it's a nano shield just from the glance I looked at it. I'll look at it as soon as we cut back to the wide shot. But he's not using the fur or the heavier duty thickness windscreen. It's just the regular little skin on the outside.
Skiing or out exploring glaciers or mountains or whatever, that to me is the most fun. It was a really wild journey.
Yeah, you see that is a nano shield, and it just has the light, the windscreen. So the microphone's on the inside, probably just in there. And there's, based on the amount of wind that's going around in the background in Alaska, you're not going to be able to avoid hearing some of that wind hit the microphone.
I mean, most of this started from some posts I put on YouTube and Instagram, and then it just sort of snowballed into there, where all of a sudden I found myself in this career, which has been awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time to do this interview. I really appreciate it a lot. Yeah.
He did a really good job with this, because when you have a motion background, it's moving around back there, it makes the line for the split, you know, since it's the same person twice, makes the split very difficult for you to mask. So he did a good job with this.
You bet. I thank you for taking the time to let me do this interview with you, and I really enjoyed it. So this is how I've done a lot of interviews. If you don't know me, I do a lot of run and gun filmmaking.
That's the DD boom pole. I can tell already. And you know what? He's as a solo creator. Here's the thing. I'll say he is using a boom on himself. So I don't know what he's going to say here just yet. But being that he just goes out into Alaska someplace, he sets up a tripod, he puts a camera on himself, and then puts a boom over top of him. To me, that is very, very good. I mean, the idea and concept of putting a microphone directly on yourself and making it a boom as opposed to just wearing a lav, even though he's wearing a lav also, using the boom, that is commendable. And since you don't have a boom operator in the middle of Alaska someplace, having one of these arms that sticks out over and sticks a boom out over top of you, I'm not going to make fun of you for that. This is one of those things where he is setting this up for himself and doing this for himself. That's fine. If you are walking around interviewing random people and you have this pole standing out in front of you by 4 or 5 feet, that's when I'm going to have an issue with it.
For a lot of different things. So if I'm working with somebody, they'll be standing right here conducting the interview. I'll be working my FX6 with the audio boom just here, just off of camera, making sure I can get the best audio I can, moving it around if I need to.
See, that's good. That's exactly what you should be doing, is getting the microphone close. He's got he's not using the Zeppelin anymore, so he's just got the microphone up there. It's now inside of a softy type material. What's interesting to me is he's not using any you normally would use some sort of since he's externally wrapping the cable around the boom, what you need to do is add a twist in it. So that way the microphone, the boom cable will actually wrap around the boom. That way it's tighter. That way there's not going to be any slap from the cable hitting the side of the boom. He might also add a bongo tie or some sort of a tie off right there. That way it's going to isolate the end of this. That way if you accidentally pull this cable, it's not going to be pulling on your connector and potentially introducing vibration noise into the microphone up through this. So I'm not hearing this. It's probably not going to happen if you're holding your hand steady and stuff. I'm just throwing that out there though.
And that has worked okay. The problem comes when I'm the one asking the interview questions and operating the camera and the mic, because I can't sit here and have the person talk to me while I'm also doing this, because I can't really see where the mic is. It's way too hard to do that together.
Which is the reason why you need to have a skilled sound person if you're doing any kind of man on the street type things. Solo creators out in the middle of nowhere, just doing everything by themselves. He's right. It's difficult for you to get great audio. I mean, you could put your microphone on somebody, but if he wants to have that on himself, he's very consistent as he's walking around here, it's not, if someone is just frozen on camera, something like this is a solution. Now, I know that you're going to say, wait a minute, hold on a second. In another reaction video, you blasted on the micro boom. That's because they were shopping it around as something that you would use in a convention or walking around on the street or something like that. He is in the middle of nowhere. If he happens to set up for a little interview with an interview, if he sets up for an interview with this camera setup and he's a solo creator in the middle of nowhere, it's very useful for him to have a stand that holds his microphone for him and holds the boom pole. You kind of gotta look at things situationally. It makes sense in his situation.
So when I'm working by myself and I'm asking the interview questions, because I do that a lot out in the rural areas of Alaska when I've worked out there or when I work out there, then I had to come up with another solution. Now, one of the best solutions is this. These are really great combo stands from Impact. Safety first. But the thing I really like about these stands is they have a boom sort of built in. So when I do work around Anchorage, you can see some of the shots here that I've done.
And you know what? This exact same, the scenario, I actually have a similar stand underneath my bed. I literally have it stored under there and I pull it out whenever I want to do it. I used it in my perspective sound video, if memory serves. I think that's what I used. And it's a good stand. I mean, it basically does exactly what you would want it to. It swings out and puts a microphone right on top of somebody. It's a stand that has a built-in arm. It's very, very convenient. I've done that. I've done that with videos on this channel.
With this way, this works out really well because I can boom the mic, especially if we're going to be just stationary somewhere, and I can just put the mic on the end of this right here. So I can do something like this. And again, this is more for when I'm indoors, not necessarily outside working with somebody outside. This way, I can stand here, have them talk to me off of camera, and get a good, clean interview.
Why is this bad? How am I going to roast you for this, Jake? You're doing what you're supposed to do. This sounds like a great solution. It's good sound advice.
At 24 millimeters, it's not bad. I'll show you what it looks like here. So I'd probably frame it up something like this, but I'd be talking, I'd have the person talking to me.
And hear how good that sounds? The only thing I would say maybe just be aware of, and his audio sounds fine because he's actually in front angled outward just a little bit. If you look at the trajectory where the microphone is pointed, it's in front of him. If you wear a hat like he is, don't want to be over top of the hat because then you're going to end up getting muffled because the bill of the hat is going to be blocking the microphone from picking up direct line of sight. He's actually in front and angled slightly back, which is good. That's exactly the way you're supposed to do it.
Because generally people aren't very comfortable talking straight to camera. So be chatting, having an interview, and working like this. And as you can hear, the audio is great. I've been using the Rycode HD15.
I was wondering about that because all of a sudden, he sounded very, very good, but his mouth wasn't in sync. So I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? It was, audio from the close-up showing the wide shot.
I wanted to see if there was a way I could condense this down even more because especially when I travel out to rural Alaska, small airplanes, anything like that, the least amount of stuff you can take with you, the better. So I really wanted to see if there was a way to just pack this down basically to a microphone boom pole and a tripod. So this is what I found as a solution. And I actually tried this out when I was out in Bethel last time, and I just attached my DD boom to the arm of my tripod and ran it through the handle of the FX6 to give it some extra support.
This is probably what he's thinking I'm going to rip him for. You're not in the city walking around with this thing sticking out, like crazy and people walking all over the place. You're in rural Alaska. It's the same thing as having that stand and then running the boom pole out from that, except that you just don't have the stand. I understand. Basically trying to condense things down, especially if you're going to be on an airplane where every little bit of weight, every little bit of space matters. That's one of the reasons why if you ever watch videos on YouTube of people that show the prices of places in Alaska, and you're looking at it and saying, how in the world is a 6-pack of Coke $15? Well, the reason why is because it weighs a lot, it's a lot of liquid, and it takes up a certain amount of space on that plane. The plane that is the only way for you to get things to that shop. And based on the weight and based on the size, that matters on a plane because their fuel, it costs a lot to send a small plane. You can't send a big, huge plane to a lot of those places. So it makes total sense what he's doing.
And then I found this device from Eero, something like that. Or what it's actually built for is umbrellas to be able to protect the camera in the rain, which is also very handy. But
it's good because, what we do in the film industry is we use things not for their intended purposes. It's funny when we turn in an expendables list and have unlubricated condoms on there and people in the production office are like, wait a minute, why are you using unlubricated condoms? And it's like, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's not for what you might think. We use them to cover up microphones. We're sound people. We don't have sex.
At 50 millimeters or 35 millimeters is where I usually kind of end up for stuff like this. And that gets us even better.
He's to the edge of the axis. He's a little bit off axis when he was facing the camera.
A little bit out of camera, like, 4 or 5 inches off camera. So it could be possibly brought a little lower to be in frame a little closer. But this works extremely well. Then we go to 30.
It sounds fine.
Which is what you can see here. Camera or the boom is right here. So just that far out of frame. And it gives you really good clean audio. Couple that with a good lav. And you've got 2 great sources of audio.
Okay, 1 second. I want to hear this part again.
So just that far out of frame. And it gives you...
When he looks up, you hear some of the highs pop in there. I'm going to be listening again because what I want to see is if it's because he's directing his mids and highs up towards the microphone or if it's because the bill is ever so slightly blocking blocking the direct sound, because you see right now it looks like the microphone is actually kind of coming in on top of him a little bit. He was a little bit farther back, so his voice was in front of the microphone. Now the microphone is a little bit behind him. It's starting to get behind him because of where the bill is positioned. His mouth, he would actually need to be coming in at this kind of an angle in order to get his mouth.
Really good clean audio. Couple that with a good lav.
Hear the difference? Right there, when he says really good clean audio and he looks up into the microphone, then he tips his head back down there. When he tilted his head up, you hear all those mids and highs, not because he was pointing his voice at the microphone, but because it was actually line of sight. The bill went up and it was line of sight to his mouth. So just be aware of that.
And you've got two great sources of audio. This thing can handle a lot more wind than I...
You can hear that. You can totally hear that when he just tilts his head up just a little bit.
In a pinch, if you're working in areas that, you're just kind of having to... make things work. I really like the way this works out because
there's nothing wrong with this. This is actually this is probably a solution that I would do. If you have your travel boom pole and you have the little adapter that goes onto the same stand as yours, I would do the same thing.
Then I can stand just over there. Now the system isn't perfect. You've got to be careful how much weight you put on this. The Hero, I don't know how you say that brand's name, but they say limited to about 3 pounds. The DD boom pole is 1.1 pounds. You don't need to extend it all the way out, so that's 1.1 pounds. This is about, I don't know, a quarter of a pound, and then the mic and the cable altogether, this is about 2.5, a little less than 2.5.
Okay, hold on one second now. The one thing I'm going to jump in here and say is yes, the actual things may be 2.5 pounds, but when you extend a boom pole out, it starts to put a lot of it's like seesaw. It's like a seesaw. You start to have a lot of extra weight on it because you basically extended out there a weight at the end of a boom pole. It starts to weigh a lot. So a few ounces can weigh a few pounds if you extend it out far enough. So depending on what's going on, you could end up having about 5 or 6 pounds, perspective wise of weight on the front of that. So you just need to be careful. Yes, the actual weight on the device itself may be 3 pounds, but it may be holding up 6 pounds of weight. So if it doesn't crank solid and it keeps sagging on you, that may be why, in which case you could try reversing it so that way that it tightens as it falls as opposed to loosens as it falls, if the stand's even made that way.
Pounds. So about 2.25 pounds or so. Now you might say, hey, there's another option on the market, the Zacuto boom arm, whatever that thing is, and I'm going to say no. One, that's limited to about 35 inches, whereas this, you can go 5 feet, maybe 6 feet.
Oh, jeez. I so hate this thing. Okay. I'm just watching this all over the place. I'm just going to pause a couple of places. I backed up a little bit. Watch. You see how this thing is on there? It's making me nervous every time he frames this thing up because, yes, if you have it to the edge of the frame and you're keeping the person's head in the frame the whole time, that's fine. But what happens if you zoom in? You may misjudge where someone's head is, but look at this right there. He's starting to get a little bit to the point where if the guy leans forward or tips his head down, he's over he's going to be on the back of the person's head. Not good.
5 feet, maybe 6 feet.
Like right before it cut, right there, it's starting to get behind him a little bit. Any more than that, and it's going to be behind him. It's going to start to sound like it's booming the top of his head because it is.
6 feet. But the other big thing is that the Zacuto one, you can't use professional XLR microphones, which is what I use when I'm doing professional interviews. That is limited to extremely small microphones, and attaching it to a cold shoe, hot shoe, or cage, no thank you. And the question...
Oh, jeez. The airplane flew right into dude's head. When that happened... I looked at this and I was like, I thought for a split second, I thought he was taking the boom and knocking the guy's head with it. But then I realized it's an airplane.
No, thank you. And the question might be, is this going to replace an actual audio person on set? No.
No!
It's not. Anytime you have somebody whose sole focus is audio and you just get to focus on video or everybody...
Jeez. Okay, that was the DD boom pole review that I did. I've lost a lot of weight since then. Just saying. Jeez, I looked horrible.
can just focus on their rolls, I would take that 100% of the time because you are always going to get the best results. A proper boom operator can follow somebody around the scene. They can make sure and get the mic exactly where it needs to be every single time.
That's right.
But for me, many times I'm being sent to places or asked to go to places.
What, you don't have a boom operator in the middle of the tundra? Why did you not have a boom operator up there, Jake? Come on.
Is that it's only possible for me to go by myself, and I need to take the minimal amount of gear possible to save on weight or save on size because of the size of the aircraft that I'm traveling in.
Well, you saying I'm too heavy? Take up too much room on your airplane?
And while you can use it, even the EOHD, HOD thing can be used with Manfrotto tripods as well. I would recommend the heavier duty tripods because it obviously does better when there's a little bit of wind blowing it around. It was even doing a little bit today, but it's just much better on a Sackler tripod or a heavier duty tripod anyway. So those will be linked to the description. But next you're going to want to watch this video right here. I'll see you over there. As always.
Why would I roast you for this, Jake? Seriously, this is good sound advice. This is a good video. I endorse this. I like this. Thumbs up. I kind of want to watch it again because it makes me wonder, did I miss something? Did he say something that just I missed? Because I found myself just watching it. So I actually fast forwarded through the video you're watching here a few times because I'm just watching the video saying, yeah, he's right. And you know, what kind of a video is it to react to it just where I'm like, yeah, that's it. Yeah. I mean, it's a good video. Why would I roast you for that? So anyway, thanks for tuning into this episode of Soundspeeds. Be sure to tune in the future for more reaction videos, maybe somewhere I get a little feisty. And as always, sound advice. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. You can also make a suggestion for future topics of discussion. Again, comment section down below, or you can email me at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss out on future sound advice.